Roger Ebert was one of our nation's most beloved film critics. With his partner Gene Siskel, Roger took film criticism from the pages of newspapers and into our living rooms with the television show At the Movies. Throughout his life, Roger shared his love of film, not only by conveying what makes a good movie, but which films were his favorites. This is not a show about those movies. This is a show about the movies Roger loathed, the films he despised, the movies he absolutely hated. Movies like Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever, on this episode of Does This Movie Suck? Hello friends, my name is Scott and welcome to the show. This is our journey through the 2007 book Your Movie Sucks by Roger Ebert. This week we're exploring the 2002 film Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever, starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu, and directed by Wick Kaosanada, or as the credits call him, Chaos or Chaos. But they also credit him by his full name too, so there's that. Let's get going with our blurb check. It's where we check out the pull quotes from movie boxes to make sure they're accurate. The back of the DVD contains a quote from Richard Reed of Northwest Cable News, proclaiming that the film is smart, lethal, and sexy. One hell of a wild ride. First, let's look past the fact that this movie is decidedly none of those things. Richard Reed is more of a gossip reporter than a film critic. He was unfortunately laid off from NWCN back in 2003. His thumbprint on the network is largely deleted. I couldn't find any record of him even mentioning this film. After he was laid off, he took a job as the entertainment reporter for Australia's version of The Today Show, where he quit right before joining the Australian version of Celebrity Apprentice. A couple of things I've learned here. First off, there's an Australian version of The Today Show and Celebrity Apprentice. And second, you shouldn't Google Richard Reed bombs. Pretty sure I'm on a watch list now. So I couldn't find the validity of that quote, but let's ignore it since it's the opposite of the truth. Let's get it. Let's dig right into Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever, a movie with a whopping 0% on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter. 0%. Oh boy. Roger starts his half-star review by pointing out that the film may have been better served with an improved title, writing, "Strange that they would choose such an ungainly title when, in fact, the movie is not about Ecks vs. Sever, but about Ecks and Sever working together against a common enemy, although Ecks, Sever, and the audience take a long time to figure that out." And boy do they. I honestly had to watch this movie twice. I decided that if watching it a second time couldn't make the movie good, I was at the very least going to understand what was happening. The first time I watched the film, I had no idea what was going on, no idea whatsoever. And the second time through, I decided that the best way to describe the film is to break it down to its essential elements, the easiest way through the plot. And that meant cutting out the incomprehensible subplots, the logic gaps, and just the bad filmmaking. At its simplest level, the film is about a woman trying to get her son back, although that woman is not a main character. At the first of the film, we see a mother pick up her son from the airport. The mother is played by Talisa Soto. When she gets home, she's confronted by some agents from the DIA. Ebert assures me that's a US government agency. They tell her that her son's father wants to see the boy, so they rip the son out of the car and whisk him away to see Dad. But on the way, the convoy is disrupted by an explosion. When the agents get out to check on what's happened, they're assaulted by a faceless assassin.
You're all right. Stay here and be brave.
I'd like to introduce you to Sever, kids. Sever steals the kid, puts him in a cage, and feeds him. It's obvious that he's not in any danger, so don't sweat that plotline.
Thank you.
The boy's name is Michael, by the way. In a bar not too far away, former FBI agent Ecks has a drink. He's confronted by some current FBI agents and asked to do one final job because it's that sort of movie. He says no, they try to beat him up, they fail. The fight is stopped by X's former boss, who convinces him to take this last job. More on that in a moment. We find out that the boy's dad is Gant, who's a bad dude. He's either former or current DIA, and he smuggled a nanobot into the country.
One touch of a button and he could give a head of state a heart attack or a brain aneurysm, totally undetectable.
It's the future of his business.
And for some reason, he smuggled this super dangerous weapon into the country using, well, wait a second. First things first. The country we're talking about is Canada. Vancouver plays Vancouver in this movie. If there's one thing about the film, it's unapologetically Canadian. Anyway, Gant's nanobot can stay dormant in someone's bloodstream until it's told to kill. Gant has smuggled the nanobot inside his son. I guess there's some sort of timer on the nanobot that will kill the boy unless they get it out of him on time. Here's a side note. Do you even have to smuggle a nanobot into the country? I mean, it's microscopic. Is Canadian TSA that good? Couldn't Gant just smuggle it into the country using a can of Barbasol or something? Using the single foot soldier that survived the car attack, Gant's agents track Sever to this mall, and things go poorly.
Freeze.
Bang, bang, boom, boom. I wonder what Canadian police think of US government agencies coming in and blowing up Vancouver, but I digress. Sever gets away but comes back to shoot the FBI chief for some reason. He's never seen again in the movie, in case you wondered, and no, it doesn't matter. Ecks chases Sever until they have a lackluster fight on top of a roof. Is movie fight choreography supposed to look like movie fight choreography? Sever escapes, so both Ecks and Sever can retreat back to their respective compounds for exposition. Ecks learns that Sever had a child that Gant killed, while Sever takes the nanobot out of the boy and puts it into a bullet. Wait, what? Wouldn't the movie be better served if we didn't know this? If the boy was in some sort of trouble? There's no dramatic tension now, we know the boy's fine. So the bullet's loaded, and by the way, this is supposed to be a big surprise at the end, and then this happens at the Ecks compound.
Freeze! Get your hands above your head! You're under arrest for the shooting of U.S. federal agent Julio Martin.
Well, there's certainly no proof that Ecks killed that chief. It's not as if there were a ton of people that saw the shooting, and Ecks was holding a shotgun at the time. I'm no crime scene bullet expert, but I've seen a few episodes of CSI and I know the difference between shotgun fire and handgun fire, but I digress. Then there's more exposition and dumb character decisions, and these character decisions only serve to move the characters into the next position for their next set of scenes. They oftentimes run contrary to what a character would do in this situation. The corrupt DIA agents turn Ecks over to the local PD just because, which gets Ecks into a bus so that Sever can break him out of prison via the old rocket to the bus gag. This leads to the most lackluster chase sequence ever. Shot with long lenses, if I did know who's in these cars, and I don't, I gave up caring long ago. Watch this. This bike literally just falls over. There's no slide, there's no speed, there's no danger. Wow. Ecks and Sever are chased to a location, it's a train yard, it's stock movie stuff. And from here on out, Ecks and Sever work together to find Gant. So at its heart, it's a movie about two special agents fighting a rogue agent who's set to unleash a nanobot superkiller on the streets. Simple enough, right? But what makes this movie incomprehensible is its subplots. Ebert went out of his way not to spoil the movie's secret, but since it's more than a decade old at this point, I'm just going to go ahead, since in the scheme of things it doesn't matter. This movie's bad enough that you'll almost need it spoiled so it makes any sort of sense. Remember when Ecks was confronted by his old boss at the first of the story? To get Ecks to take one final job, the boss reveals that he knows where Ecks' wife is.
Bin's alive.
You're lying.
Taken off a cellular sweep.
You saw her die.
You saw an explosion.
Where is my wife?
I'm sorry. I need you to do it.
Where is she?
When the job is done, I'll give you what I got.
So you're going to blackmail Ecks into one final dangerous mission so he can find out where the love of his life is? This seems like a jerk move, but whatever. When the boss is killed, he uses his last words to tell Ecks that Sever knows where his wife is.
Julio. She knows. She knows where your wife is.
Have you figured it out yet? Have you figured out who Ecks' wife is? It's Gant's wife. Gant's wife is also Ecks' wife. This is where things get very confusing. When Ecks and his wife are reunited, we're shown a scene in flashback that I want to play in its entirety, and then we'll talk about it.
I am taking a deep cover assignment.
Baby, please don't take this one.
So Ecks tells his wife that he's taking an undercover job. She begs him not to, and then Gant arrives. Ecks, Gant, and a mysterious second woman have dinner with Ecks' wife. I think the second woman holds the key to the entire scene. Without that second woman, the scene makes absolutely no sense. Seriously, I've watched this scene 20 times. Without considering this nameless, lineless woman, the scene and the character motivations for the rest of the movie don't work at all. Here's my theory, backed up by zero evidence. This movie had a plotline that didn't make the final cut. Ecks and his wife are divorced. He's now dating or married to the mysterious other woman at the table. Ecks' wife is now dating or married to Gant. So Gant and Ecks' wife are together after the divorce. These relationships are key into understanding what happens next. After leaving the restaurant, Gant tries to kill Ecks by blowing up his car. And then Gant blows up his own car. But why? It turns out that Gant is faking his own death and the death of his, or Ecks' wife. The explosions only serve one purpose, to deceive the wife and Ecks. Ecks thinks she's dead, she thinks Ecks is dead. That gets both Gant and Ecks into the positions they need to be in at the start of the film. But questions remain. How did Gant explain the car explosions to his wife? And then how did he explain that they have to assume new identities? Those things still don't make a lot of sense. But without considering this other woman at the table, and this is how it plays out in the actual film, Gant is leaving the restaurant with Ecks' wife for some reason. Gant's explosions then seem to be some sort of power play for her love. But Gant and Ecks don't have that type of relationship. Actually, this flashback is the only time we see them together before the final scene of the film. It's the only way any of this makes sense. I'm guessing there was a cut plot line. Ecks is supposed to have 2 dead wives, and one of which is still alive. But by cutting that plot line, they've pulled the cornerstone of the entire film. The rest of the film is a bit of a mess. Of course, I couldn't find anything online about a cut storyline, so this is just me speculating. Speaking of things that make little to no sense, ready for the big twist? Once Ecks and his wife get reunited, she reveals that the abducted child is... just watch.
He's our son. Yours and mine.
Right. You're telling me that this woman and this man made this child.
Thank you.
Nope, 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 no. This kind of thing makes me angry. This is casting for the sole purpose of deceiving the audience. If you're going to cast a Spanish actor and a Puerto Rican actress, you can't tell me that this child is their offspring. This is solely to trick me into a plot twist I already don't care about, and now this entire thing's making me angry. Add to this layer of confusion simply dumbfounding character decisions. These decisions are made just to move characters from one place to another. Sever steals a car to get away from chasing DIA agents. The agents declare it too dangerous, so they abandon the chase and hand it over to the local police?
Mobile Unit 1 on site. Situation out of hand. Suggest the locals take this one.
It gets Ecks and Sever alone, though, so they can have a standoff. DIA agents question Ecks after he's arrested for not killing the chief. They let him go with local police because this movie really doesn't want Gant and Ecks to meet up before the final scene.
Sorry, Ecks, you're a local matter. We're done here.
It does set up an awesome bus explosion, though. This film is peppered with logic gaps just like these. This movie, it's a mess. I've come to the conclusion it was made for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's a good excuse for Antonio Banderas to mumble.
I'm not the man you want. The human factor. Looks like he leaked the problem. Files, photos, anything? And wind on violence. Of course you do. Prison bus. Sever still has gotten scared.
I know what you're talking about.
Number 2, it's a showcase for Ray Park's amazing acting talents.
You know who we're up against. You know what she wants.
Gun team, disable target at my command.
Do not cancel. We need her alive. Acknowledge. Where's my bloody tactical team?
You're sweating.
It's been raining. We've sighted our target. No word on the package. However, we may have another problem. Sir, with all due respect, that's an unacceptable level of exposure. I didn't set this situation in play. You did. I warned you of the risk.
Your job is to fix my messes. It should never have gotten this far.
And number 3, it's a reason to get some things blowed up real good. Did you see that last explosion? Banderas took some ashes to the face. Boy, I hope that was fake, but it doesn't look like it. This movie isn't even fun to watch. It has major pacing issues that make it drag on for an eternity.
What do you know about Michael? Prison bus. You could have been killed.
But you weren't.
You do know we have company.
Get on with it already. That's in the middle of a car chase, by the way. So the question remains, does this movie suck? Yes. This movie's a travesty. It's a well-deserved 0% on the tomato meter, and I believe that Ebert's half-star review is far too kind. And now I've seen it twice. Probably 5 times by the time I get done editing this. So let's give it a 5-star review on Netflix. It's the Netflix effect. Throughout my journey, we're going to give all these movies 5 stars and see how Netflix's algorithm reacts. That's actually going to take a few weeks to start bearing some fruit, so here's a book recommendation for you. This is The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell. Sestero is the co-star of The Room, which is quickly working up the ranks as one of the greatest bad movies ever made. If you haven't seen The Room, it's amazing. It's indescribable. It's one of the strangest, most baffling movies I've ever seen. The book is the story of the making of The Room and the friendship between Sestero and the writer, director, and star of the film, Tommy Wiseau. It's as baffling as the film. The book is well written and frequently hilarious. I think The Disaster Artist stands on its own, but I would almost recommend you see The Room before and probably after you've read the book. The book right now is being made into a movie directed by James Franco and starring James and Dave Franco. It's in post-production right now, so you're going to want to read the book before you see the movie. I'm telling you, it's hilarious. With that, we'll cross Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever off the list. What do you think? Have you seen Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever? Let's talk about it in comments. And join me next time when we discuss another movie and ask the question, does this movie suck? Thanks for watching.